Welcome back, everybody. It's two guys in a stack of comics, and whenever Reed and I, my buddy, we get together after work and talk about comics, it's always a good day, right, Reed?
Yeah, no, we are at the end of July. Hard to believe we are in August, although
It
we are
just
so close
it
to
just raced
football
right through.
season. Summer is winding down a bit. We got football starting, so good time for us and a decent month for comics as well. I know you got your Raiders. I got Panthers stuff today, but I'm a Bears fan, so I gotta drag the Bears stuff out and start wearing that more as we get
We
closer
shall
to the
see.
season.
We shall see what my Raiders do this year, my friend.
Well, it's
At
always
least
good to
it,
be hopeful before the season starts and both of our teams are eliminated halfway through the year. But
at least we're keeping the same coach that we had last year. That's always a plus for me as a Raiders fan.
no
But
new
we're
coach is a
talking
good
about
thing.
yeah, we're talking about comics and what our favorite comics of July were.
July.
I will say that I have perfectly narrowed my pull list down to every comic I get is a comic that I can full heartedly recommend. And case in point, July. I think one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. I probably bought about 10 comics this month, and I can recommend almost every single one of them. And for the month of July, if you're not subbed to the Ultimate line, Ultimate Spider-Man is amazing this month. Delivered again, as it always does. It's a really great story, and Ultimate Black Panther as well.
Yeah, I think
Two
both
of
of
my,
those have been really strong for sure. Like you talked about Ultimate Spider-Man, it's amazing how much better that is than the actual Amazing Spider-Man book right now. Jonathan Hickman's just knocking it out of the park with that. And it's just good to see a story of Spider-Man that kind of just seems to be uplifting a bit, positive, hopeful. Like I think they've taken the Parker concept way too far in the mainline one. So I agree with you. And then Black Panther, good kind of escalation issue. A lot of stuff building. Looks like we finally have
right.
started the teased war between Black Panther and Moon Knight. So I think we got
It's
yeah, I would agree. The Ultimate line has been really good so far this year.
it's been awesome, and it's just what I wanted. Somebody who wanted a jumping on point for the Marvel universe, which has got a little bit weird lately, very convoluted, lots of subplots. This was just great. It was good, clean, fun, place for me to jump on and get back into some action from some of my favorite characters. And I'm told, what's the Avengers one? What's it
The
called?
Ultimates.
The Ultimates. We had a little comic book club meeting down at the local comic shop last night, and I think they're on issue two.
Issue two. Yeah, first one was really good. Second one was not as good, but it's I think it's got a decently promising start. It'll be interesting to see where that one goes. But it'd be great if the Ultimates can become a book like Ultimate Black Panther and Ultimate Spider-Man. They give
It
us a version of
sounded
the Avenger that's easy to jump into. So
it
um
sounded so good. I
hopefully
might have to add it to my sub list. It
I'll,
really
I'll, I'll
sounded
I'll
good.
definitely I definitely got copies if you need to check out the first couple issues
All
for
right,
sure.
very
Marvel, yeah, I
cool.
thought Marvel this month. I was really impressed with this month. For me, it was interesting because a lot of books launched this month that were really good. So for me, the best Marvel book I read, Wolverine Deep Cut. Chris Claremont, the classic X-Men writer, still getting to write great Wolverine stories, and he writes just a really good Wolverine versus Sabretooth kind of battle. See the art here from I think it's Edgar Salazar on it. Wolverine back in the yellow and blue costume. This takes place, I believe, somewhere in the 80s, kind of when the X-Men were going through that Australian outback sort of period of time. Just a great revisiting of that time, and you get a classic scribe like Claremont on it. And again, taking advantage of Wolverine being in the major movie this month. I thought this was a really good job by Marvel to do that. They're not doing so great on the Deadpool end, but from Wolverine at the very least, they're delivering there. Another one we did a long form review on, X-Men #1, the launch from Jed MacKay. We talked about this a lot. Good art from Ryan Stegman on this. Not a perfect comic book, but definitely progress in the right direction for the X-Men. We did a pretty long review on that one, so if anyone wants to check that out, but I would definitely recommend that. If you've been a little jaded on the X-Men, while not perfect, I think this is a really good first step For me, the Marvel book I was really impressed with this month, and Jason Aaron has not been one of my favorite writers. I really didn't like his Thor run. This Namor series that he started this month, and I kind of have the Deadpool variant cover. It's just telling a pretty decent Namor story. It kind of starts with Namor in captivity, and then it's kind of mirroring flashbacks of Namor's past while catching up with what's going on in his current life. A lot of politics and things about under Atlantis and what's going on down there, and just an interesting replication of Namor as a character. I thought the art was pretty good. You get two main artists on it, on the book, but I think it's set up a lot of interesting setup, and it's only an 8-issue series, so I am kind of looking forward to it. Decent artwork in there, nothing Jim Lee or groundbreaking or anything like that, but really good for Marvel Comics current day. Would definitely recommend it to folks if you want something that's a little bit different. Now, Jason Aaron, I will say he destroyed the Punisher in that one comic that I still haven't quite forgiven him for. However, first issue, I'm going to give it a break. This could go off the rails, but I will say for a first issue, I thought it was really, really solid and would recommend it to someone, especially for a character like Namor, who has not gotten the best representation from Marvel in a while. So I would say that from the Marvel end. For you, Mike, I know you are more of an indies guy. What indies did you have in July?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so stop the presses. Everybody, take a look. EC Comics is back. This was their first offering, and I got the special homage cover. If you can see, if you don't know about EC Comics, EC Comics was like the original indie, like way back in the day. They were a third tier publisher that was trying to make ends meet in the 50s. Ultimately, they got run out of business for themes that were too adult for kids. The thing about EC and their defense is when our veterans came home from World War II, they spent their war years, most of them, reading comic books. When they were, some of them 16, they lied to get in, 17, 18, 19 years old or 20 years old. They sent comics by the millions overseas to our troops. And when they came home, they had the comic itch, right? They wanted to read comics. And so EC kind of filled that niche for them, giving them stories that were a little more adult, namely horror, sci-fi, and the like. They are notorious. They are legendary. And Bill Gaines was the publisher, but they ran him out of town ultimately with the Comics Code Authority and the censorship that went on in the mid 50s. Anywho, fast forward to 2024, and here we are. They are trying to relaunch an EC title. And the first offering is a horror comic, which is great. And if you've ever read some of the classic EC stories, these are short stories as they were designed to be, with little horror and oh my gosh twists at the end. Decent artwork, great short storytelling, and I will say there is an art to telling stories in this short format, and they are definitely trying to capture that and put in modern themes. So a lot of great offerings. If you haven't checked it out, do. But in the coming weeks and months, they are going to do, and there's a nice little homage page to Max Gaines, who created the modern comic, and his son Bill Gaines, who went on to be the publisher of EC Comics. They're going to have some crazy, amazing science fiction offerings, and I'm so looking forward to it. I mean, some of the greatest in the industry worked for EC Comics back in the day. So this is really cool. And you can see they have the little epitaph there with the grave digger and the crypt keeper who were ongoing there in EC Comics. So very good stuff there.
Nice.
And
Yeah, no,
then,
to see them, get a relaunch.
right after like 70 years, who knew they could
Just
come
a
back
little
from
bit
the
of time.
dead, just like a zombie that was popularized in EC Comics. They could come back from the dead. And then, of course, the double punch from Titan Comics. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. We've
No,
got
great to
Conan.
see new
We're gonna,
story arc in Conan for sure. No, good to see Brathwaite back too.
and this one, Tokyo Nexus. I'm just gonna read real quick. So if you're not following Blade Runner, you don't need to follow Blade Runner to pick up this great comic. It's all about replicants or synthetic human beings running amok. What could go wrong, and what kind of stories could you tell? You can tell a bunch of stories. They've been telling these stories since 1982 when the movie came out, or 1960 something when Philip K. Dick wrote the first story. It's the rise in the manufacture of bootleg replicants in the Far East, and it has forced the Tyrell Corporation to engage in a costly patent war to ruthlessly protect its unique intellectual property against, and the Blade Runners have been dispatched to pursue any copyright infringement by the industrial pirates with extreme prejudice in order to preserve and protect the Tyrell Company's monopoly. So this proves to be amazing. We're going to get new replicants that are not made from the Tyrell Company. Oh my gosh, it's going to be awesome.
Great.
And of
I'm very
course,
happy for you that you got a new Blade Runner comic to get excited about.
I know. And if it's Titan, it gets 3 staples, right? Look at
No,
that.
Titan's putting out great stuff. Conan, I you brought it up. Conan 13, excellent issue. Doug Brathwaite back, kind of going back and revisiting Conan's past a little bit. You get, it looks like it's going to be tackling the classic Howard Frost Giant's daughter story. Really just cool to see them kick that arc off after 12 great issues. And again, you get Brathwaite back on pencil, so you had De La Torre go right back to Brathwaite. Really cool to see that. Other ones we'll mention real quick. Flash Gordon #1. We did do a long form review on that. Jeremy Adams and Will Conrad on this one. Great science fiction story. A little bit of a peek of the art there from Will Conrad. Really creative story. Great artwork. Total, bargain as far as every single page. You're getting great panel work, great pages, great inking, everything. Excited to see where that will go. We did a full review on that one. Really enjoyed that. For me, 2 others I'll highlight real quick. Has been a while since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has put a good comic out, but they actually launched a #1 issue.
I didn't
Jason
know
Aaron
that.
on this one, which
Jason
is kind of
Aaron.
crazy because, yeah, I'm not the biggest Jason Aaron fan, but 2 books that he released this month for 2 different companies make it kind of a total reboot of the Turtles as far as, picks up with them, with some of their baggage that they've had, but starts with a great issue about Raphael. I think the first 4 issues are about each of the Turtles. So I believe the second one is going to be about Leonardo. And then you're going to get, or Michelangelo, I believe, is next, and then Leonardo and Donatello. But I thought it was really cool. Reboot, start, give each character their own individual story. We know there's some kind of things that have split them apart, but overall, really solid first issue. Joelle Jones used to do pencil work for Batman and Catwoman. She was the artist on this issue. Really good story, excellent jumping on point for folks. I think if you've checked out of the Turtles like I did, probably like 80 or 90 issues ago, they kind of lost me. I thought it was really cool to see a reboot and really excited to see where that will go. And then while I have liked all of Ghost Machine's titles, I thought this month not the best issue from Rook and Redcoat. I still would be picking those up. I think they're good. But Rook Exodus continues to be the best title that Ghost Machine is putting out. Jason Fabok does such great art. I remember seeing him on Justice League a few years back. It's just so sad that DC lost him. But he draws with just such detail, perfectly kind of nails like the superhero form sort of thing, but in this science fiction thing. It's just a shame he's not at DC anymore. It's a great science fiction story. There's all kinds of action, intrigue, world building. Him and Jeff Johns are knocking it out of the park on this comic book. Again, I'll say Ghost Machine. I think all 3 are good. I wouldn't fully recommend Geiger and Redcoat this month, even though I did enjoy them and I think they're good. They didn't stand out to me as like great issues this month. But Rook Exodus, cannot recommend it highly enough. It's not quite at Conan levels of good for me, but it's close. It is an absolutely fantastic comic that I would recommend. We come to the end here, our last portion here, and sadly, me and Mike have gone through about 7 books each or 6 books each. We have not mentioned a single dang comic from DC Comics this month, and it is not because we don't buy DC Comics. I actually believe in my stack of comics each month, I end up with more DC than any other publisher. And the only comic that I can recommend this month to people to pick up is a facsimile issue of Justice League of America #1 from 1960.
I got my
Now,
copy.
it is not that DC is awful across the board. I think the Superman comic has been pretty good. Kneel Before Zod has been a good title. Not quite where I'd go like, oh, you got to run out and buy it, but it's not bad. But as many Batman comics as I pick up every month, and I don't think any of them are awful. I think we solidly have 4 or 5 Batman titles that are okay. There's nothing that, as a hardcore DC Comics fan who would love for this entire thing that we're doing to be me just nonstop talking about all the great DC comics that you could buy. I really, outside of this facsimile, I don't really have any that I can recommend this month. Mike, for you, is it the same for you as a DC guy?
I was really excited to see the facsimile of the first Justice League because that is a comic that is awesome that I've always wanted but could never afford. So I'm really very happy with DC's facsimile offerings because I'm a hardcore DC fan. What can I say? And anytime they put out one, of course, it's going to be classic and it's going to be great. So I don't know.
It just, I was sitting here while we were looking through, and I normally, I know we do this each month, and I sat down and I was like, okay, let me send it. When I read my Marvel books that I liked, I always put them in a pile. I'm like, okay, that's the stack for the end of the month. And I just noticed that it's like week 2, week 3. And actually for this month, I think we got 5 weeks of comics actually relation because the 31st hit, and I didn't have a dang DC one to recommend fully. And again, not to say that all DC comics are bad. I think but there's nothing that I would sit there and tell people, man, if you're not reading, you need to go out to the shop and pick up this book outside of the facsimiles. And so it's just
And
it's kind of sad as DC fans.
I will say I need to catch up on Flash. I've let Flash get behind, so maybe there's some awesome
I
things
think
going
that
on
in
there.
itself, though, I mean, the fact that Flash is a book you've gotten behind on, it's not because you're not reading comics, it's because the story hasn't grabbed you. And with as much of a Flash fan as you are, I think that in itself kind of tells you
I,
where it's
I
at.
hate to admit it. I hate to admit it.
But again, and it's not that they're all bad. I like some of the Superman stuff this month. I like some Neil Before Zod. I think is a really solid series. Not the best issue this month that I would tell people, oh, you got to go read it. Batman had some okay books this month, but nothing I'm telling anybody, man, run to the store and pick this thing up. And it's just sad because we would love to be on here talking about DC a bit more and
You know
saying,
what? I can say Jeremy Adams, who wrote The Flash for DC Comics, is
Flash
also
Gordon.
writing
Yeah,
another Flash.
would
So
recommend that one. Yeah.
yes,
But what we thought we would do, that we'll kind of just leave it for that. What Mike and I are going to do in the next couple videos because this has bugged me and Mike for a long time. Next couple videos, probably the next 3 or 4, we're going to do a little bit of series about the current state of DC Comics. We talked a little bit about a month ago about some of the modern comic issues, but you and I are really going to deep dive into what we think is going on at DC. And they've got this relaunch coming in October. We're just going to do 3 or 4 parts talking about the biggest things that we think are hurting DC Comics. So hopefully you guys can turn into those. We'll let you know when those start posting. But hopefully you found some great comics this month in July. Definitely would strongly recommend the one we brought up today. Let us know what you guys are reading. What are we missing? If there's a great title down below that you guys think is good in the comments, put it down there. We'll be happy to check it out, spread the word on it. Always great to see recommendations from you guys.
and if
But
there's any Blade Runner fans out there, comment. Let me know if you're following Blade Runner. Am I the only one? I love it.
I'm really glad you have a new Blade. I can't get into it personally, but I am really glad that you have a new Blade Runner comic, my friend. But all right, folks. Well, we thank you guys always for watching. God bless you. We'll catch you in our next video.
Thanks, everybody.